It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Yo, man. Oh, Miss Rusty, what's up, everybody? It is Friday, whatever that means in your life. Uh, Last Friday, I think I took the whole day off. I might have just taken one off. I don't remember, but I'm gonna do that again today. I'm gonna still do 2 episodes, but as soon as that's done, I'm getting out of here for a bit. So do it while it's still nice, right? Yeah, thank you for being here on the podcast, the public access, the podcast, the pub podcast, public access podcast here on the Quantum Global Broadcasting Network, QGEBN. Check out other shows on the network like When the Gloves Come Off. Uh, that's the only other one that's really going right now frequently. And thank you to our sponsors, Fred Ben Savage's Bucks, Donor Eats Productions, Hardcore Entertainment, Hypnosis Great, and Sock 'em Up. Go to sockemup.org. People need socks, especially now. So I know a place that can facilitate that. So go to sockemup.org, SOCKEMUP.org. And right now I'm going to bring out my special guest right here, right now, because it is 10 o'clock in the morning here on the East Coast. We have right now Cristal Cook. There she is. How you doing, Cristal?
I'm good. How are you?
Great, thank you. It's Friday, whatever that means to people. I don't know. I mean, if you work for yourself, Friday is another day.
Just another day.
It doesn't really matter. I mean, yes, I mean it's I don't know. So what was the time when you were able to say I don't care about Friday anymore? Was there a time in your life when you got to that point, or are you still Friday still a meaningful time, or what's up with you with Fridays?
Well, I worked for myself different times in my life. And so at the times in my life when I worked for myself, it didn't matter. And I actually liked the weekdays because then I could run errands and it wasn't, I could get things done without a lot of crowds. And then I worked at a job for a period of 12 years. And no, actually that was contract work. So a period of 10 years. And so then you're Monday through Friday. So then I was always excited for Fridays again. And then in the past year, I've gone back to working for myself. So
What did that look like? To be able to do that transformation? What was going on beforehand? What led you to that?
to going back to working for myself.
Yep.
Yeah, I was living overseas for 9 years. And so that was fun, working
Where's
for the
that?
military. In Europe, I was in Germany and Italy both. And so,
Awesome.
of course, because I'm living overseas, so when Friday hit, the weekends, I would often do a little short trip because when you're in Europe, you can do short little weekend trips. Easy,
Good.
go to a fabulous place. You can spend the weekend in Paris or in London or in Venice or wherever because it's small. So
Yeah.
that was always exciting. And then
Awesome.
I know. And then I had been there for 9 years. And the last 2 years of that, I was managing a program and the job wasn't giving me joy. And my parents were getting older and time is a limited resource. And
Well,
I felt like, well, I've been over here for 9 years and I don't have forever with my parents. And so I need to come back and help them out. So that was the transition. Plus, I love working for myself. It's in many ways, it's different because the work never stops, right? I mean, you can always be doing something. And sometimes it's overwhelming because it's like, I feel like I'm juggling so many things. Like, do I spend time on the social media stuff? Do I spend time in this class? Do I spend time writing? Like, what do I do? And so it's like at the end of the day, the day doesn't stop, right? The work
right.
doesn't stop. So it's
Yeah.
always thinking. And I love having ownership of my time. I love
Yeah.
that.
Because
There's
I
freedom.
mean, yeah, the thoughts are always going. The thoughts don't stop. And if that's the case, may as well be working for yourself. I mean, if
Right.
you're working for some job where you have to think for yourself, you're thinking all the time, but for somebody else, it's not going to be beneficial to you. And that's thinking off the clock too. For the if it's a hourly, even if it's salary, that's still kind of thinking off the clock. But if it's for you, then that's a different story. Then that's all for whatever's gonna, help you expand and grow, and
Mhm.
you're expanding and growing for yourself.
Yeah, and the possibilities are limitless, right? I mean, you
Correct.
can create whatever world or vision that looks for you, and you can go into whatever direction that you want. So there's tremendous freedom in where you choose to go next.
Yeah. And so when you decided to come back over here and I guess over here, yeah, over into the States, what was, I mean, did you know you're gonna be working for yourself, or did you already start working for yourself before you left, or how'd that work? Do you just come over here and okay, well, what am I gonna do? Let's start a business up.
No, it was a transition. I was writing while I was over there. I wrote 3 books, my children's books while I was over there. They weren't in the finished stages yet. So I was working, I had a plan. As much as I planned, I had a plan in place. And, I'm a mental health therapist. And so there's always private practice that I can do. And there's a lot of contract work. So I knew that when I came back, that would be the transition. And now with online, and what COVID did was open up so much more stuff online, where
I
I
loved it.
remember, years ago, this was like early 2000s, a friend of mine, it was about 2004, a friend of mine said, you really should do therapy online. Like, oh, that will never be a thing. I would never do therapy with someone on the computer. You just lose too much. And had I followed his advice, I would be a millionaire, right?
For
Because
sure.
all these online platforms have come into play, and something I thought I would never do, I actually like it. I like the person to person, but when a client can have convenience and be in their own home and in their own space, it's easier for them. And if it's easier for the client, then it's so much better. And it's easy for me
Yeah.
too, because I don't have to pay for office space, and I don't have to drive to a location, and I can be anywhere in the world and still do therapy.
And that's what happened with me too. It was just so much easier. And then because I was working with somebody who didn't want to leave their house. Um, and this was probably 2018 or so. And yeah, didn't want to leave their house. And so I was like, okay, well, we can try doing on the computer, and then back then in 2018, people were like, oh no, that's not a thing. And I had an office there in near Portland, Oregon. And yeah, then it's like, okay, I moved to near Minneapolis, and I thought I'd be snowed in for 6 months out of the year. Found out that was not the case. They're great with their snow removal. But then I started looking at office space, and it was expensive. And then I was thinking, like, I'm already kind of working with people who are doing this, who like, I want to work with people who don't want to go, because the whole thing of them being able to be, because no matter how great you make your office, it's never going to be as comfortable as their house unless they have something terrible going on in their house, which there's a small percentage of the time that's the case. But for the most part, it isn't the case. And so, yeah, then when COVID hit and everyone started doing that, I was like, okay, this is great. I even beforehand, I made a commercial probably like in 2019 before the pandemic hit, or whatever you want to call that. And I call it the best time for myself, for my business, is really open everything up and made everything great. But yeah, I mean, I had a commercial. I'll even pop it up here. Let's see. So I got, you will sleep better than you have ever slept. You've never been this relaxed. Are you ready to change your life? I'm Rusty Diamond, certified hypnotist. You don't need to leave your house.
You can stay in your bed. You can stay in your favorite chair.
You just need a computer or your phone.
You can get a hold of me. Stay at home. I'll make your life better.
Hypnosisisgreat.com.
So, I mean, it's great that like that people can just stay in their home because, yeah, I mean, how much better is it that they're not going to be stressed about sitting in traffic, coming over the place, getting there on time, and then, you know, being able, especially with, any sort of mental health, anything, being able to be in the most comfortable, relaxed state of mind is where you're going to get the best work done. And just having them be able to stay, sit in bed or sit on their couch, go out and sit under a tree, sit on the beach somewhere, and why not? And then I can be at home too, and my work's gonna be good. I'm not going to be sitting in an office going, all right, well, when can I get out of here? I want to, switch it up. So I love the transition. I love that it's gone to this, and sometimes I'll still meet with people in person, but it's pretty few and far between when that's going to happen. So.
Right. And it's interesting because I think there was a mindset shift because I think people thought for years that if you work from home, you're not going to be working. You're going to be in your kitchen, you're going to be whatever, messing around and not getting your work done.
Right.
And I think they realized that productivity probably did not go down. It may have even gone up. I worked a lot in the schools. And so I worked in my office by myself and then going in the classrooms and the kids coming in to have their session. And I just didn't, when I was at work, I was at work. Once in a while, a teacher would pop in and say, hey. And when I shifted and went into management, I was in an office space with like 12 people. And I was like, oh my God, like how many hours a day do you guys actually work? Because what I saw was, I was like, oh my God. And I couldn't get my work done because there was so much chatter. And I didn't realize that when people are in an environment together, that they chit chat more than they work. And I said something to my friend and she's like, oh my God, she goes, you haven't worked in an office in a long time, have you? And I go, I haven't. And I'm shocked at how much people waste time just chit chatting. And she's like, well, it's not really wasting time. It's socializing. I go, but you're not getting your work done.
Yeah, socializing does not get work done.
Yeah. And so in my mind, it was, I think people can be more productive at home because if they have a task to do, they don't have all of the distractions. They have a task to get done. And, there may be some people that don't work, but if your work is product oriented, you're going to get the project done or whatever. And all these, it's interesting, back in Colorado, these big, huge buildings that had it was a Chase company where people did data entry. It was a big, gigantic building. When COVID hit, what they realized is we can save a lot of money by letting people work from home. They're happier. They don't have to commute. And we can sell this building and make a lot of money. So it was a whole mind shift to realizing that, people can be productive at home. I prefer to work from home because I'm in my own space. I have my own food. I can go to the refrigerator and have my lunch and I don't have noise around me.
Yeah. And just being able to give everyone a computer, internet access, pay for that separately is a lot cheaper than owning or leasing a building and paying for all the utilities. You don't pay for any of that stuff. You just have to pay for those couple things. You pay for a computer once or, every how often to upgrade it, and then just pay for everyone's internet. Then that's going to save you a lot of money. And, I think it'll make people a lot more productive. And
I would say the only down part is that it isolates people a little bit more. So, when you do go to work, you do see those people every day and you do have some connections and you're talking to another human versus I think when you work from home, I know for me, I like it, but at the same time, I'm like, gosh, have I talked to another human in 2 days? Except for when I go to the grocery store.
Yeah, I go to the grocery store pretty often for that reason. I'm always like, oh, okay, well, I guess I need one thing at the grocery store. I should probably go to the grocery store and see those checkers I know, but
Rusty's lonely again.
Mhm.
He's here to get like a piece of gum.
Yeah, right. He's getting a piece of gum or a loaf of bread, and what's or an apple or something. And
Uh-huh.
but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't trade. I don't know. Because a while ago, last year sometime for a little bit, I was doing a data entry job, uh, and they told me it was gonna be, because I was like, can I work from home? Especially after the first day, I was like, why am I going into office? And then I went in there, and it's the same thing. It's all these people just chit chatting the whole time, and I put on my headphones because I don't, I want to get work done, and I don't, it's not my deal really to be talking to people. But I mean, yeah, I went in there. I wanted to offset some taxes, because I wanted some job that was, someone else paying the taxes besides myself, to kind of make it so I didn't feel like I had this huge bill at the end of the year, like I did the year before. And so I did this for a little on the side, and then yeah, I got to be nobody was doing their work except for me. I was the only one from home. And I feel I wasn't even doing nearly as much as I would have done, but I was doing more than I would do when I was at the office.
Mhm,
And then since nobody was doing their work, they just stayed at home and did jack shit.
mhm.
We all had to go back into the office, and yeah, and then I lasted a little while longer in there, and then I didn't have that flexibility either of, if I have to go to the doctor or something, I have, I have to take time off, and I
Mhm,
ended up getting sick and got let go because I couldn't go into work. But if I would have just been at home, I could have
mhm.
done that same work. But
Oh, for sure. And I think, then you have those people who are slackers that ruin it for everybody. But I was like the kind of the nerd, I guess, or the dork in the office that had these noise cancellation headphones on because it's
yep,
like,
me
I
too.
mean,
I
I'm sure
don't.
there was a lot of eye rolling because, oh, boom. And I would just wear them all day and I would turn my music on because the chatter was so loud. I could not focus.
Yeah, and especially if you start listening to what the chatter is, if somehow, and then like, or even if you're not listening, that's stuff that's gonna go into your subconscious mind or unconscious mind and just sit there
Mhm.
because your mind's so focused on your music and your work. All this crap that they're talking about is just gonna be in your head, and you're gonna be wondering about why that, uh, Billy had a tuna fish sandwich for lunch, and he's tired of eating tuna fish sandwiches every day, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
Um, and it's it's a tough mindset to leave. But then you decided you're gonna write, and then
Mhm.
so something I've been asking. This is so I do a lot of creative stuff as well, and so I'm in between that Gen X and millennial age, and so I'm very back and forth with this with the AI assistants, and how much of that. I mean, yeah, right now at this moment, everything that I can do, it can do better. And it used to be that it can't pick up uh like humor of, nuances of humor and being clever, but now it can. And where are you with all of that?
Yeah, I find it fascinating and mind boggling, actually. I There's a program that I have that I love using it because it saves me time because it can go in, find articles that I need, and then compose an email, summarize the article, and then I can sign it. That saves me hours. So I love that. Um,
Absolutely.
So I love the time saving of doing stuff that I don't like to do, but I find it wild to think that like now they're like teachers can't, like people cannot tell the difference between essay or a term paper, is what we used to call them, written by a person versus AI. And I guess at the same time, it's like, well, if we've got AI to do it for us, maybe we don't need to do it anymore. I don't know.
That's kind of what I feel like too. Yeah, the point of doing that has always been just, I think that's something that should be addressed, and there should be an overhaul of the education system anyway, especially with something like that. And now I have a sister-in-law. She's a professor, and she had her students write some paper, and you can do the the AI check to see if it was written by AI, unless I don't know why these kids, they're not thinking a step ahead, where you go and you use the filter that goes and filters everything out and rewrites it so it can't be detected by that it's AI. But she said, like, I think 80% of them came back as detected as written by AI. And so she said, okay, everyone who did this, and if I catch it on there, I'm not going to say who right now, but if I'll give you an extra chance if you want to rewrite it and turn it in, I won't give you a 0, which I'm going to give everybody else if I find out that it was written by AI. And it came back and still, like, I think she said maybe 70 or 75% of them still didn't change it. And so, I mean, in so much of term papers or essays or whatever you want to call it is, and testing as well, is just the learn and dump kind of education, which, what good is that? I want people to learn forever. I want people to keep learning, but learn it just to get it on something and forget it immediately. What's that can do for anybody other than just kind of the reason that they made school was to be able to indoctrinate people to, for it takes 12 years to indoctrinate somebody, or 12 or 13 years to be able to get them to adhere to a time frame, such as, you go to school, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, sure gets you ready for that workforce when you're ready to just think that that's what you're going to do when you get older. And I think it was the Rockefellers, I think, that started the public education system. Was the Rockefellers or one of the other ones that's like the Rockefellers? I want to say it's the Rockefellers though. But I mean, yeah, there's no reason to just learn something and get rid of it. Learn something because it's going to help you out. And right now, the resources are out there for anyone. You have free courses online from Harvard, Stanford, MIT. You can learn anything else from YouTube University. There's Google Scholar. I mean, there's anything you want to learn or can learn and to make yourself better is out there, and people should do it. And just learning, like, okay, well, I have to write this essay. Like, if I was going through school now, I wouldn't do a thing. I don't know why I'd be going though. I would have had everything done and had my homework done in 5 minutes. And then just, I don't know what else I would have done. Just like, okay, well, I'm done. And that should tell people something, that's something that we need to readdress.
Oh, I think that this newer generation, what is it, the generation that's going to high school and college now? Is that Gen Z?
I think so.
I think they're just going to overhaul the education system, period. I think it's just going to have to change because the younger generations are like, yeah, this is dumb. Why am I doing this? And right. It's interesting to see how that would shift too, because like you were talking about, there's so many resources online that, and college and universities are so ridiculously expensive now that there may be a huge shift of kids saying, we'll just do this and create our own path.
Yeah,
So it'll
I
be
mean, yeah,
interesting to see what will happen in the next few years with all of that. Because like your sister-in-law said, like she told him, I'll give you a 0, and they came back and they still
right.
used AI.
No one
Like
changed it. Yeah,
they're not going to follow the rules, and in many ways that generation makes me bananas because they're like that. And in many ways it's also good because they're kind of creating another revolution, and truly they're better at computers than we are. Maybe not,
absolutely.
but each generation gets better and better. And I work with a lot of teens, and they're like, yeah, my parents took away my cell phone, but they know how to get into all the devices at home, change the passwords so they can use their devices, rechange it back. I mean, their parents so bamboozled,
Yeah,
that they're smarter than their parents when it comes to technology, unless their parents are like an IT, guru or something.
yeah, and I mean, even that, because yeah, I was at the tail end of, I had both the analog and digital, and so it's, I don't know, it's a weird time. Like I went through, I don't think I got a phone in like, I don't know, 12th grade, I guess. Like, but it was a phone that was like could call people. It couldn't. I think it could. Text was just starting.
Mm.
Like you could just start to do the where you had to go and push everything and the numbers a few times for each different letter. Um, but I mean, yeah, like I had a pager and stuff for a couple of years before that. But I mean, yeah, I mean, so even like part of high school, like I didn't have anything. There was no way to communicate. I didn't have a computer at home. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have a pager. I just was on my own.
Mm-hmm. Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, and I mean, so and even like when I had a phone in 12th grade, I only had a certain amount of minutes. They didn't even have the free nights and weekends yet. It was like you have like
It
a
was
100
expensive.
minutes. Yeah,
Mhm.
100
Yeah.
minutes a month or something like that. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know if people understand that was that's how things used to go.
Like
And
the Flintstones, right?
right.
Yeah, when I was in the FBI, this was way back when we had pagers, but we the cell phones, we all like each squad shared a cell phone, and it came in like a suitcase.
Oh
That's
yeah.
a suitcase to your car. And I think it seemed like you'd plug it in to where the lighter was, and you had this big old clunky phone, but it was cool to be the one carrying the cell phone. And
Yeah.
how it's so different. But I'm curious, like, way, I think it was in the 80s when Terminator first came out. Do you think
Right.
that AI can reach that level where it develops its own intelligence and then says, hey, we're going to take over these humans? Or these humans are messing up the planet, we're going to take over. I mean, it could be
You
evil or it could be good, but do you think that's possible that they can do that?
Yeah. I mean, so when ChatGPT got big in November, um, within 2 weeks, it was so far advanced from what we could even imagine. They had to stop it after 2 weeks and only release so much out to the public each, every update or whatever of it since then. But I mean, after 2 weeks, it was already anything past we can even fathom, and it's already good. So I mean, I assume it has a, you know, we'll be working for um, them or whatever that is for that. But I don't know. It's impressive though. I mean, if it's all, everything can be good or evil though too. And so
Mhm.
um, I don't know. What do you think about that?
I don't know, because it's so beyond my capacity to understand. Like, I don't even understand how it does this stuff. Like, I can't, like, my brain, I feel like my brain is here and that level of technology is here. So I'm like,
Yeah.
gosh, who knows? And I remember when Terminator first came out way back in the 80s, it seemed so unreal. Like, oh, this is such a fiction, science fiction movie. And then I'm like, maybe it's not. I don't know, but it's
And now every science
yeah,
fiction
it's
movie.
wild. It's wild how it can, like you said, it just advances, and then now it can pick up nuances and cleverness, and I don't know.
Which they said wouldn't happen. They said for a long time it's not going to be able to pick that up, and now it is. There's a new thing that Google just released. So all these different tools. I forgot what it's called, but it's even a bunch of stuff with the wordplay and stuff. Yeah, I was just talking about it on my other podcast yesterday, and yeah, I mean the stuff it can pick up on. And so just being able to write, whether like you were saying, books, plays, screenplays, movies, music, uh, video production, whatever. It can just be done, and I don't know. And it's a hard thing too, because there's, as much as I want to not use it, I think it's going to be the people that aren't using it. They're just going to be left behind because it's going to be everyone else is using it. And I mean, it sucks because I know how long it takes to write something. I know how long it takes to make some sort of musical composition, and now it can be done in 90 seconds. And it's frustrating. But then I was speaking with somebody a while ago, but it just how the people who are creative, like, but can't draw a lick, can come up with stuff that normal artists couldn't fathom doing, but have the technical skills to be able to do. As someone who can only draw stick figures can do this crazy conceptual art that no one else could have thought of, but only had the tools to be able to draw stick figures. And then I think that can advance and kind of push forward the people who, quote unquote, real artists could be able to, advance and kind of see what other people are doing. And then, I mean, I think it's like with computers, people who wanted to think that computers were going to be the end all of society, the downfall, stayed away from it and just kind of got left in the dust. And I think that's kind of what a lot of the younger generations kind of hoping is going to happen. That I think that it's something we kind of have to accept, and it's going to be here.
And you will get left behind. I mean, that's just a fact. I mean, because like you said, like computers, like if you're not technology savvy, at least a little bit, you're limiting yourself on so many things. Like, for instance, I have a good friend. She's older, an incredible therapist, wanted this management position. Technology, even basic technology stuff, is a struggle for her. And she didn't get that position because if you're a manager, you got to be able to do a lot of reports and download them. And you need to really have a certain level of technology know-how. And so she didn't get the position. She lost it to someone much less experienced, but that person knows how to operate technology, so. And like you said, with ChatGPT, like I can get so much more done with the type of things that I need to do. Like, to me, that's drudgery work. And it frees me up to do other stuff. If I can crank out more books, which I love to do, and spend less time doing drudgery stuff because AI helps me do it.
Yeah.
Because then, like, have you read the book Zone of Genius? Nope. I can't remember the name of the author, but he talks about that 70% of your time should be in your zone of genius. And so, but a lot of people spend so much of their time, doing things that, maybe a virtual assistant can do or whatever. But if you can get AI to do all of this other stuff and do it exactly like you want it to do, you can spend 90% of your time or in zone of genius.
Absolutely. And so then are you able to with your stories or illustrations able to use ChatGPT for it, or is that kind of writer's secrets, or is that
Oh
because
no,
I
I
mean
can.
I went and did one months ago. I didn't release it about I made a book teaching kids not to pee in a swimming pool, and
Mhm.
it spat it out. I changed a few things on it, made it better, uh, and yeah, at the same time, it's just like, ah, shit, like why there's, but you need to have that prompt though. But I mean, you don't though, even you just need, now you can be like, give me these ideas of the prompt, and then there's so much. And then once like, and then being able to feed your work in that you've done already, to have a sample of it, to be able to have it right in your style of writing with your nuances of how you do anything, and pick up on that, make it sound like you, and just be able to spit things out over and over and over. I mean, what's the to not stop just doing that and have an endless supply of work. I've had
Mhm.
a lot of authors on here, and I bring this up every time, and I've had a lot of musicians on here, and a lot of people who, you know, I have a lot of creative people on here, and everyone's kind of on the spectrum of where they fall into this, but it's something I like to talk about because, like we were saying, it kind of it affects everybody, and it's kind of how you use it and what you're planning on doing with it is where you're going to fall in the world.
Oh, and I misquoted the title of that book. It's called The Big Leap. So
Okay.
it's a great book for entrepreneurs. I'm just new into using Chat GPT. I don't, the type of books that I write, and maybe, I'm thinking, oh, only I could do it. Maybe that's not true. Maybe I could do it better, because there's a lot of nuances in my book, and a lot of meaning that gets here and here and here. And it's kind of like an layer of onions. But that being said, I don't know. I guess it would be interesting to try and see with one of my next book ideas, to see if it does what I want it to do. At least it might be able to give me some ideas. I don't know. But what I think, the illustrations, I don't like digital. So like, I have all the illustrations in my head of what I want them to look like. And I'm one of those people who I can visualize like this great piece of art. But when it comes to drawing it, it doesn't translate. So the illustrations I have in my head, and I don't know if AI could do the illustrations by watercolor
Again,
or not. I don't know.
yeah,
But
can.
I pay an
Yep.
illustrator, and she does it, an artist, and she does a tremendous job. So it'd be interesting to see. I mean, it would save me a lot of money to do it, but I don't know. It will be interesting. I would like to try it, to experiment and see what I think, because until I experiment it with myself, I just wouldn't know.
Right. Um, yeah, I mean, what are, I don't know what people are using right now. But yeah, I mean, and the prompt, just like Chat GPT, what you type in, I want it to be a watercolor with, whatever your story is about, a watercolor about a walking pair of scissors, and the Italian, uh, on this Italian beach at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And, you know, I don't know, but then, or whatever that might be, just for example, and then be able to uh, throw that up.
But it
Just,
still would be digital, right? Because the AI is not going to get, a paintbrush and paint and.
yeah, well, yep. And yeah, you can even say that if it says it doesn't look like there's paintbrush strokes on it, you go and you have them redo it a little bit, update a little bit, and say, doesn't look like there's paintbrush strokes on it. Please make sure it has paintbrush
Mm,
strokes on it, and
mm,
it will do it. And again, the it's tough. And like, I have one of my friends, he just wrote a movie and a book, and how much he is against any of this stuff. And just like all this can be done right here. And,
Hmm.
but, and it's hard. He's probably maybe a few years older than me, but, I mean, yeah, it can do it. And so, I mean, maybe I'll get on. Yeah. I mean, what's it called? Um, let me see if I can pull this up here real quick. Um, so if I go on to one of these, oh shoot. Okay, well, anyway, maybe I won't do this right now. So if you want a watercolor, pair of scissors. Oh, maybe not. Okay, I don't know. Screw it. Okay, I'll send you something later on. We'll go with that.
Yeah,
So
I would be interested to just learn. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
fascinated by it all.
yeah, and
Mhm.
it's I mean, yeah, the only thing that it has trouble with still, but it's getting better with is uh having words or numbers on there. But I mean, that can easily be done in Photoshop afterwards or whatever, even use Canva if you want something free. And then hands. But hands are finally starting to, like, fingers. For some reason, fingers always get kind of odd with those, but now it's able to do it pretty well. Yeah.
I'm
So-
wondering for me, I spend the most time through the editing process, back and forth, hours and
With
hours
an editor or yourself?
with the so I write and then I rewrite, and then I have a content editor that comes back and we do some revisions, and then I have a copy editor at the end. So I'm wondering if that's where AI would help me, is the whole editing process, because then it makes it very smooth and makes sure that your characters, so that's where I would probably really love it, is have the base story and then have it help me make it really smooth and polished.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you just go and put in your story, you copy the text in, then put for the prompt, make sure that it's smooth, make sure the characters are very defined, and kind of tighten it up and make sure it flows perfectly. And then and then it has your and make sure it's in my voice that you're seeing here. And I like to, and this is another thing, I like to be very polite to the AI, because I feel it
want
works
to come and
better.
murder you at night.
Yep. I'm like, please, thank you. You're doing such a good
I need
job.
to take over the world. I want you to remember I'm your friend.
Yep. I want to be his friend and make sure it's there. And
So who invented it? Who invented Chat GPT? Because to me, like, who has the mind to figure something like that out?
I mean, I think it's just evolved with so much. I don't know who invented ChatGPT itself, but I mean, there's always been the need for some sort of personal assistant. But then, yeah, this just kind of blew it into a whole new stratosphere. And yeah, and like I said, it's so much further ahead than what it's showing right now. And so, yeah. So then I have another question. So what were you doing at the FBI? Or is that
Oh,
something
I was an agent. I was a special agent.
for where and doing what?
I was in Miami, Florida, and back then Medicare fraud was a huge, it probably still is, it was a huge, huge thing, healthcare fraud, where even people that were dead, people were taking their Medicare card and still billing the insurance. And even big companies that are well respected, big huge hospitals were fraudulently billing the government for billions of dollars.
To get Oxycontin or something?
No, just to make money. So Fortune 500 companies would, so when you, like in a medical field, you bill based on a code. So you can bill for services that were never rendered, or you can bill for services, say like, this procedure reimburses us at $1,000. This procedure reimburses us at $100. Let's go with $1,000 reimbursement.
Whoa.
that type of thing. Yeah. I
And
mean, and well-respected hospitals were doing this.
and so what did you do in there? Were you going through stuff on the computer, or were you showing up and I mean, how'd your work go with that? How did that,
Well,
or
we
did you
would arrest people.
infiltrate or?
Well, we would arrest people. So we, as an agent, what you do is you're really trying to get people on the inside to give you information, an informant, a cooperating witness, and then you get all of the data, and then we have financial analysts. Well, AI could do that now, but the financial analysts back then, this was 20 something years ago, would go through and find patterns and then see where the billing was off, or if there was, that they were billing for people that weren't even alive anymore, like that's obviously fraudulent billing.
Yeah.
And so then we would, then you gather the evidence and you interview witnesses, and you put a case together. And sometimes there were multi-cases, cases, the same case would be New York, Tennessee, Miami, a bunch of different, because these companies, span over multi-states.
Sure.
And then in Miami, I was a young new agent, so we did other stuff too. We did, investigated drugs, and Miami's a hotbed of all kinds of crimes, so we got to do all kinds of fun stuff. Follow people, spy.
What was that like? Or what would you like most about that? If you were able to, follow someone or spy, did you have any certain ways you like to do it? Not without giving away too many secrets. I mean, they might be maybe not as they may have been upgraded since then, but I mean, was there some part of it that you really enjoyed getting to do?
Well, it was fun when you could. Of course, making arrests was fun because it was exciting. You're getting the bad guys, so to speak. That was always fun and exciting. I always liked when we would have surveillance, because we didn't have a GPS back then. So back then we had a GPS device that we would then put inside someone's car, like the bad guy's car. So then we could
under a wheel well or something, or
and then we would change out the batteries, kind of like around 3 a.m. or we would make when it was a time that was quiet. With criminals, a lot of times in the middle of the night is when they're not quiet. And it was always fun for me because back 20 years ago, I looked like I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
I did not look like an agent. I did not look like an agent at all. So I would always get sent in to get pretty close to the bad guy because I was so unassuming. Like I didn't look like an agent. So I could track.
Okay. So they'd just be thinking you're some kid walking along, not doing anything,
Or there's someone in the car, kind of like happens to be, in traffic. Because they would get in a car. So we'd surveil them because we would want to take photos of, say, them making a drop or making an exchange. So the goal was to get a photo and to track where they were going and gather information. So I was able to be fairly close and, not be identified. But it was fun. It was a fun time. I was in my 20s and there was a lot of us young people working at a big office. So it was a fun time.
Would you ever be in, was it usually like a van, or like what kind of, like one of those vans that's like a, Bill's auto parts or something, everyone hiding in there, or were you in just
I was
car?
just in a regular car. Yeah, just a regular car. I mean, we all had our own, we called it a BU car, our FBI car.
And was it was yours, what kind of car was yours?
God, I traded out a few times. I had one gigantic. The first one I had was a brand new agent. When you're a new agent, you get all the crappy stuff.
Yeah.
I had this big, gigantic, and you probably can't tell from here, but I'm not that big. I'm like 5'3", and this car was like maybe a Lincoln or something. It was so big. I kept banging it into stuff because I couldn't maneuver this big, gigantic car. So I kept when I go to park, I was always running into other cars. So I finally oh my God, let's give her a smaller car. Then I think it was like kind of Buick or something.
So did they look like they were like police or FBI cars, or was it very just like it was just some car?
I always thought they looked like a grandpa car.
That's a good idea. Who suspects the grandpa?
The undercover agents, they had the cool cars, they had the sports cars, all the undercover guys did.
So when you're doing like you're going to arrest somebody who's into drugs as opposed to somebody who is uh doing medical fraud. I mean, how were those arrests different? I mean, when you were there, like, was it, a lot of action going on or something for one of them and not so much the other one, or was it kind of varied all
Yeah.
over the place?
If they were, we always would have intel, right? Like these people are armed and dangerous. So sometimes the SWAT people, the FBI, at least back then, had more resources than the local police. And so when we would go in, it was like quite overkill sometimes, but err on the side of safety. But of course, all the agents were like, yes, we get to go make an arrest. So sometimes if it was armed and dangerous, we would hit maybe 10 sites at once because we would get the whole, a big part of the team, I guess, or the group. And so a lot of times the SWAT team would go in with you.
Oh, wow.
Their SWAT team, and you'd have your body armor. And if it was, these people aren't armed and dangerous, so it would just be maybe 3 of us, 4 of us go in. So yeah, it was different depending on the type of arrest. And I will tell you, if it was a very, very wealthy, high-end Fortune 500 company, they didn't get arrested. They got to turn themselves in.
Oh, okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And so then what kind of got you out?
Honestly, I think I would have been happier if I would have gone at the local level. I think I would have enjoyed moving up to become a detective and working at the local level. At the FBI level, there's so much bureaucracy, and so much politics, and I saw so much that I didn't like.
Sure.
And I remember tragedy hit my life, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, if I died tomorrow, is this what I want? I can retire at a young age, I can make good money, it's a prestigious job, but this isn't giving me joy. And I decided what will give me more joy. And I got to thinking, is it like, I have an incredible amount of respect for law enforcement. And at the same time, for me, I felt like my purpose wasn't being fulfilled by being on this end of arresting people and finding out people who did things bad. What if I did something for me that intervened earlier in the teen level, in the child level, so that maybe the trajectory of their life would be different? And I don't have any illusions that I'm going to save the whole world, but maybe that one kid or that one person that could be like, do I go this way or do I go this way? That maybe they would at least think about it before they went this way, or maybe they would go this way. And so I went back to school and got a master's in social work, and I've been doing that for over 20 years, and I love it. I mean, when people ask me about the FBI, it's fun to think about those memories. But this is where I have my passion.
So have you gotten to write? Oh, have you gotten to write about any FBI things you've done?
I never did.
And so then you're writing books, writing children's books, and then so are they, is it available on Amazon, or is it like you get them at the bookstore? So if anyone's listening, no, I don't get into what a bookstore is or a library. So can you go? Do people go to the library and check it? Where is it in the Dewey Decimal System?
My books, they're fairly new. Best place to purchase them is on my website, Cristal, Cristal Cook.com. I had the second one I need to put up on Amazon. I didn't publish them through Amazon, like Amazon KDP. I didn't do that. So the best place is my website. There are a few little small stores that have them. Maybe someday everyone will have them in their stores. That would be fantastic. But
Absolutely.
But I'm a beginner.
Okay.
So I'm still learning how to sell and market and get them out into the world and everything. Yeah.
ChatGPT can help you with that one too.
Really?
If you, oh, absolutely. Yep. Any marketing or just set up a business plan. Tell it to write you a detailed business plan of how to get it everywhere you need to do it. And I had to do a business plan 3-4 years ago, and I had someone working with me, and it still took me close to a month to do. That's something that's so foreign to me, trying to make that stuff. And then I could do it on ChatGPT now in 15 seconds. So there's that. So if that can help you out as well. So everyone go to find you on your website, and yeah, buy stuff there, check out your website, be able to work with you from there. And yeah, thanks for being on. I had a great time getting to talk with you and not knowing what we're going to talk about. So those are my favorites. So thank you, yeah, again for being on, and I appreciate you coming here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been fun chatting with you.
Absolutely. Have a great rest of your day. All right.
Thanks, you too.
All right. Thank you. All right. That's Cristal Cook. So you guys check her out. I forgot to say, you guys can leave a message here because I'm cool like that. You're cool like that. Leave a message. I'll play it on air. No one's doing it, but you can do it.
Messages? We don't need no stinking messages.
I need messages though. So you guys, 503-974-6420. You guys, thanks for listening here. Share. Like Sunny and share or something. Share it around, man. Yeah, share it. Like it, subscribe, download. You can check it out on, well, you're not gonna listen to this on YouTube right now because I'm stuck from uploading anything for YouTube for 2 weeks. So, well, you can probably check this out, but it'll be on Rumble or anywhere else you listen to podcasts. If you want to see a pretty face, go on to Rumble. If you're like, I want to look at this guy, go listen to anywhere you have a podcast, where you can listen to a podcast. Check out other shows on the network on the QGEBN. Just search that. You'll find plenty of stuff on there. And thank you again to our sponsors. Fred Ben Savage's Fuck, Stoner Eats presents. Nope. Stoner Eats Productions. Hardcore Entertainment, Hypnosis is Great, and Sock 'em Up. Check out sockemup.org. If you guys want to know anything more about me, go to rustydiamond.net. Easy. That's my link tree. So you guys, thank you for being here. And that is the show. Man, boom.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Ernest!
Yes, Pee-wee.
You brought the snacks, right?